Welcome back. What we're going to do next is create the internal pages for the book, things like content. For that, we're also going to create master spread over here. So in your pages panel, here we go, pages panel, we want to create a new master. Okay, so in our master area, we are going to add 2 pages. The size is already established. And we don't really need to base it on anything. And let's call this chapter content so we can identify it more easily. And let's click on OK. And there you go. We have our spread now. And what we want to do is have these pages represent the inside of our book. So if people start reading, what does this layout look like? Now, for books, we want to increase the margin size. It makes for a more visually appealing experience, and it also serves a utility. For example, if somebody's holding this book open, you don't want their thumb covering up text. You want to give at least some breathing room. And also because, let's say it's a paperback, you want to increase the distance between the spine and the start of the content to make sure that you don't have text too close in there, which gets dark and hard to read. So we're going to adjust these margins and optimize them for book reading. So let's start with the left one here. I'm going to go to Layout, Margins and Columns, and we're going to modify this one. So the top is going to be 0.75 inches. The bottom is going to be 0.9375 inches. The left, also known as the inside, no, left, sorry, that's close to the paper edge. Left is going to be 0.75. And the right margin, this one over here, is going to be 1 inch. Number of columns 1, and we're going to enable layout adjustment if ever we want to tweak these settings and have our content adapt. As you can see here in the preview that things are starting to look a lot better compared to the right hand side, and this is what we want. So let's click OK and take note of these values. We are going to try it over here also. Same thing, double click, Layout, Margins and Columns, and what we're going to do is set the top margin to match the other one, 0.75, the bottom 0.9375. Left side close to the spine is going to be 1 inch, and again on the right side is going to be 0.75. Now if you had chosen in your document setup the option of facing pages, okay, it doesn't really change much in your layout over here, but what would happen is in your master pages, when you double click and you went to margins and columns, you would notice that the margins would now be called inside and outside instead of right and left. So if that happens, don't panic. It means the exact same thing. It just gives you a bit more insight as to where these margins are, and it treats both these pages in a similar way. Now, as you can see, something happened here, and they're completely off center. This one seems to have been a little wonky, so the left side needs a bit of fixing. Top, bottom, inside margin now, see that should be 1 inch, and the outside margin should be 0.75. And that makes a bit more sense. And whoops, maybe not. Typo, 0.75 inches. So yeah, it's not 0.1, it's 1 inch. Perfect. So we have our symmetry again, life makes sense again, all good. So we have our chapter master, and now we have our content master. What we're going to do now in the content master is set up a few items. For example, page numbers. We want our content to have a page number, and for that, again, we are going to use placeholders. So zoom in a bit, either by using the magnifying glass tool, the zoom tool, or by pressing Control plus on your keyboard and then moving your page in place. So let's zoom in a bit there. And we are going to insert a little text box right about there. And this is basically where your page number is going to appear. You can have it centered here, you can have it at the top. The design of that side of things is your decision. However, the mechanism itself works the same way. So once you create the text box over here, click on Type, Special Character, Marker, and Current Page Number. So click there, and what it's going to do is it's going to insert a placeholder character. It's arbitrary, well, not arbitrary, it's based on the master prefix, which in this case is B. And it's basically going to replace this letter B with the page number when it's appropriate. And also it allows you to double click this and create or apply a style to make it look nice. So I'm just going to grab this, and it doesn't even have to be that big. We can make it a bit smaller. So leave enough space for at least 2 or 3 characters depending on the length of your book. Copy this, go to the other page, double click here to make sure that you're now working on the other side, and let's paste that in there and move it into place right here so that we have some symmetry. One on this side, the other on that side. Another thing I probably want to add to this book is the author name. So I'm going to add a little piece of text over here, and this is outside the boundaries of our content margins because it's not critical content, it's just a little add-on we're adding. And double clicking here, I'm going to put in author name, and I'm just going to make sure it's centered, and I'm just going to copy and paste this and add something similar to the other side. Now you see my smart guides are acting, which really makes my life easy, and as I move this content it automatically shows me when it's centered. So InDesign is really helpful when it comes to that kind of thing. And I'm going to put the title of book goes here. Now again, these are placeholders. We will replace this content eventually. One other thing we might want to do is maybe include the chapter number for whatever reason. Maybe not, but let's try it out. We're just going to put chapter, and again, we don't want to put a number in here. We want to put a marker like we did on the page divider. Type, special character, marker, section marker. So when we update the section number in our document, it's going to automatically change the value there. So I'm going to align this to the right, and that will change accordingly as I add more numbers in there. Whoops, you want to watch out for that kind of thing. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and save here, but there's one more thing I want to change. This number over here, I also want to be aligned right. I could do that in the styles, but might as well take care of that here. Alright, let's go ahead and save this. And when we come back, we're going to install some styles and format this content for styling and stuff.